don't understand. I could have had class. I could have been a contender.
Oh, go smash.
Mrs. Robinson, you're trying to seduce me.
Here's Johnny.
Hey, motherfucker.
You never go ass to mouth.
Now what is so damn funny?
And here we go.
We will not go quietly into the night. We will not vanish without a fight.
Force will be with you. Always.
But the truth! You can't handle the truth! Showtime, everybody! Showtime!
What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 10 of the For Real Movie Club podcast, coming to you from fanboysanonymous.com. I am your host for this edition, Tony Mango. Chris the Dace Man Dace has no voice, so unfortunately we're missing out on him for this month's edition, but Dace will be back for the next bunch, as usual, and he sends his warm regards. Although I am joined with two of my fellow teammates for the podcast. We've got Caroline Oliveira.
Hello.
And Eddie Sequeira.
Ow.
So what we are going to do for this month is the typical January side of things, thriller movies.
Yay!
Oh, that makes sense. Totally.
Yeah. I don't quite get the connection behind it, but you suggested it, Caroline, and it works. Why not? Better than doing New Year's movies, right?
Oh my god, yes. That's like depressing.
Yeah, we would do New Year's Eve, and I would get all mad at watching that movie for personal reasons, and then that would be it. And I wouldn't want to do the other ones. So, thrillers make sense. You start off the new year, you've got a whole bunch of resolutions, and then you kill them after 2 weeks, because then you realize you don't really want to go through with all that effort of exercising and stuff. So.
Well, the problem, Anthony, is that people try to do everything at once, and you really have to kind of take it one step at a time. For example, if you want to quit smoking, that's the only one you should do. You shouldn't try to quit smoking and lose weight and take up a particular hobby, because that's just going to eat you up.
Very much
that's
so.
What I heard in some. That's what I heard in some talk show. I don't know. I don't believe in resolutions at all.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, no, me neither.
So the 4 movies that we're going to be doing for this edition, and we're going to be breaking them up into different videos on YouTube if you're watching it there. If you're listening to this on iTunes and Stitcher, then hey, all the work's done for you, and they're all going to be in one big podcast, and you don't have to do anything. So, awesome. Bad news for future Tony, you have to editing it, but it's good news for you guys. We are going to be doing Misery from 1990 in part 1. Part 2, we're going to do Silence of the Lambs, 1991. 2000's Memento is going to be in part 3. And finally, we're going to end off with the 2003 version of Oldboy.
The best version.
I would assume so. We'll get more into that a little bit later on in part 4. But we are in part 1 right now, which means that we are going to talk about Misery. So, give us a little bit of breakdown of Misery, the movie, Caroline.
All right, well, like Tony said, Misery was released in 1990, and it's based on a Stephen King novel. And this novel is awesome. If you guys haven't read it, you should. Actually, one of the characters in the novel, in the movie, is one of Stephen's favorite characters ever. So that says a lot. With that said, it's not... like, if you've seen The Shining, and if you think, like, that's all Stephen King is about, this is... I guess there's some similarities to The Shining, but Misery is mainly about this novelist who is really famous for creating this book series. There's, like, really romantic and just very dramatic, the kind of stuff that you see, like, in, the pharmacies, and they have, like, Fabio on the cover, like, kind of like that. And this novelist's name is Paul Sheldon, and he actually goes to this little town because he goes there every time he wants to write a book, and he's tired of writing those stupid novels, and he wants to write something a little deeper. But he ended up suffering a car accident during a snowstorm, and he's rescued by Annie Wilkes, who believes she's his number one fan. She's obsessed with the dramatic novels. And everything seems fine, but their relationship starts getting very complicated once she reads the final book and realizes that is the last book he's ever going to write, because he kills his the main character, the character that she loves, and she kind of goes psycho. She's like not a very like, she's not really stable to start off with, and that just like drives her to the edge, and it becomes a quest for Paul Sheldon to survive while he has broken legs and he's in this very isolated cabin with Annie. So it's an awesome, 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 awesome book, awesome movie. Kathy Bates is in it. She's amazing. She was so good in the role that Stephen King actually wrote characters for her in other books of his and other film adaptations. And James Caan is the main writer. So it's awesome. I love that movie so. I think it's so romantic. Oh my god.
I can hear your smile. You think it's romantic?
I do, because it's about devotion, and you're loving a writer so much that you would feel better to just make sure he never leaves your home, no matter what it takes, and just have him forever. Like, if I saw Stephen King, like, I would totally do that. On Neil Gaiman, yes, like, I would trap them, and I would, like, do everything Annie does to them to make sure they never leave.
Why do I feel like this podcast is going to be used in court someday? Evidence for against you.
Oh, what's new?
Well, you mentioned that the Annie Wilkes character was so well received. I mean, that ended up winning Kathy Bates the Academy Award for Best Actress in 1990. Well deserved too, because she was like
it. She was the first woman to win an Oscar for Best Actress in a horror thriller movie. So that's like pretty badass. Yeah, she's amazing in that movie. Like, she's completely convincing. And she wasn't. I mean, she's an amazing actress as it is, but I don't think she was well established as she is right now. But she literally kills it with a hammer in that movie.
Well, she only kills one thing with a shotgun, right? Oh, well, we don't know what she did with the babies and stuff.
True. And actually, that bit, apparently it's like based on the true event of this crazy nurse that would kill babies because she wanted to
so romantic.
Their souls. Yeah, it's like, oh, she just didn't want to be alone. And she has a pet pig in the movie. Like, how cool is that? Like, if you don't want to, like, watch a thriller, just watch it for the pet pig. She's really cute.
So, first impressions of the movie, obviously Caroline loves it. What about you, Eddie?
This movie depressed me so bad. It got me so pissed off.
It put you in a state of misery?
My girlfriend... Huh?
Just like,
no, I swear to God. My girlfriend texted me while I was watching it. And I answered back in a rude kind of fashion. And, I mean, that's how pissed off I got.
But why?
It's so frustrating. It's claustrophobic. It's lonely. It makes you feel. Nothing made me feel more alone than watching that movie. I mean, because you have the two constant characters all the time, and the only outside world is this little village, not even town.
Yeah.
And New York City is so far away. It's like, oh God, I crave that big city and all the people and the police that might actually work. I'm not even sure, and stuff like that. You know, it's like, and here you're like in the woods with the. I don't normally want to cause anyone harm or anything, but you can't help it, you know.
Right.
You want pain to be inflicted on her.
Oh, that is mean.
Doesn't that speak to how good the movie is, though?
Yeah,
if it makes you feel like that?
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Yes. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, if a movie makes you feel it's done its job, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean I still hate it. It's a great. I'm sure. You know, I think the production was all right. Some things you can tell that are kind of outdated. I mean, we're talking about 1990, and you're still like you're on the last generation of movies before CG started to take over. And I think it brought up what I loved about it was like it brought simplicity back. It reminded me of that simple time where it was all about dialogue and performance, and it was not about like the constant camera angles and the constant, you know, We'll get this cool sun flare shot of the. No, none of that. It's very raw. It's theatric.
Yeah.
So I like that about it a lot. No cell phones, no gadgets, no just a writer and his typewriter.
Mhm.
Those old cars and the old man. There was that part where Kathy Bates was watching TV. It's like everybody on TV has a mullet. It's like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, God, that depressed me also. That depressed me a lot. I'm
Mullets are
serious,
kind
man.
of
Like,
depressing.
yeah. So, but aside from that, you can tell. Yeah, you can tell the legs were. You got. I mean, I give it a. I kind of look the other way because it's 1990. The legs look kind of fake when he first falls out of the bed.
So on the casting side of things, let's start with you, Caroline.
Mhm.
Obviously, Kathy Bates. I mean, we already threw it out there that she won the Academy Award and everything. I don't think anybody has anything bad they could say about her in it. What do you think about James Caan playing Paul Sheldon? Does it give you the idea that he actually could be a critically acclaimed writer or somebody in his position, or is he? I mean, one of the notes that I had written down when I was watching this is a pretty easy acting job for James Caan in most scenes because he's just kind of laying there and.
Do you really think so? I feel like when an actor doesn't have their bodies to distract you from like the raw emotions, I think that's harder. I mean, I don't. I
It
mean,
can
I don't
be.
know. I have no idea. Like, I mean, I watch a movie and I'm like, okay, that person convinced me. That person, like, I'm not an actor. Obviously, I have no idea about acting, but I liked him in that movie. I felt that he was just. I could totally buy that he was this guy who ended up getting really famous for something that he's not really proud of, and he's trying to be like that deep, artsy writer now, and he's just stuck in there, and he's kind of presumptuous, but at the same time, in a very soft way. I liked him in that movie. I mean, the role was actually first offered to Jack Nicholson, and he turned down the role because he's like, well, I already did The Shining. I don't want to like get into another Stephen King movie right now.
Plus, he would
I
definitely be crazier. Like,
right, like I feel like yeah, like just his face, like I don't know. Like I like him a lot, but I don't think he would have done a good job like James did. I just love that movie. Like I am very biased when it comes to this movie.
I'm
I'm
having
sorry.
flashbacks to that scene in, I think it was About Schmidt, where he's in with the hot tub with Kathy Bates. Jack Nicholson. It wouldn't have been the same movie, Misery, with
Right?
Jack Nicholson in there.
Oh.
What do you think about the casting, Eddie?
It didn't. I got nothing negative out of it. So that means it's definitely uh, done its job. Kathy Bates, I thought, when her character first entered the movie, I thought, oh yeah, no big deal. Like I knew this was the movie that made her career or so, but I never really, I didn't understand why until I saw the her rage.
Yeah.
Like her anger was like, oh my god, it's like my mom is angry at me or something. It's like, wow, that was real. That wasn't. I don't know. It felt legitimate.
Yeah.
Maybe you know why? Because Kathy Bates is not your average Hollywood mannequin. Your Hollywood doll.
Oh no,
That's
She's not
true.
the cheerleader that's always nice and yelling, and then when she has to let that rage fly. It's like, oh, like go to hell. Nope.
Mr.
She's
Man.
pissed off.
Mr.
She has some
Man.
real rage. It's like, yeah, like she's the real deal, right? She's the
She
real
really is.
Hell,
McCoy, to
just
use an 1890s term.
just waking up and seeing her face would be horrifying enough.
Yeah,
That's
but then,
mean,
like, and
but
then and
still.
then and then and then you see her in their happy, her happy moments where he's like, "Yep, Misery is back, and she's gonna marry she's royalty," and she's like, "Oh, I knew it, Yes, everything's so beautiful. Like, I get it now.
Yeah. And it was
Uh,
funny that you mentioned that she's like, nah, you're a Hollywood cheerleader. I was just reading something that they wanted to turn Misery into a Broadway play, and they were tapping Julia Roberts to play Annie, and Stephen King was like, okay, Annie needs to be someone that can take down a guy,
Yeah.
not a Hollywood pixie. Like that was like, if that happened, can you guys imagine that? Really, like Pretty Women trying to be Annie, like that would have been so bad.
If I woke up in bed
So
after getting
bad.
into an accident and I saw Julia Roberts from 1990 there, I'd be like, all right, well, I guess I died.
Okay,
And
that's
I'm in heaven now.
fine.
I'd be like, oh, are you joining me in this awesome bed scenario? I wake up and I see Kathy Bates and I'm like in hell instead.
No, aww.
no, for real, totally.
Well, for her character,
But,
not just her appearance and stuff like that, but that type of person. I mean, she nails it. Like, she is the quintessential kind of not like a homebody kind of person or whatever, but like the depressing person that you see picking up these kind of books at Target, like
Yeah.
where they watch Oprah all day and they love Ellen because Ellen is so quirky, like that kind of a. It's it's horrible to like be around those kind of people. So I'd be shouting at the top of my lungs, afraid if I was James Caan in this movie. Before she even started acting crazy and started saying things like she was going to put on the Liberace records or like before she brings that pig into the scene, like I would have been terrified immediately just hearing her
pig
talking about
freaked me
Misery.
out, man. I'm like, dude, that pig is gonna bring an infection.
Oh, pigs are really clean.
I don't care much.
So I just
Clean.
want to
They're
say to
supposed cleanliness.
everybody out there that wants to bully Tony now and tell him to fuck off and die, you just
Join the
describe
club.
all that he just said. No, just like type down like you're gonna wake up to Kathy Bates reading books from Target, watching Ellen and Oprah the whole day, and you're gonna be stuck there. You're not gonna be able to move.
I'm gonna have
Because that's
nightmares
one
about
of
this now later. The scarier thought than half the things that happen in these movies. So another topic that we can talk about, we talk about this in every movie that we talk about on here. Sometimes it's something that's a huge part of it, sometimes it isn't. And this one, I would say it's probably one on the lesser side of things, but the music of the film.
Oh.
Does that stand out to you guys positively or negatively? Anybody want to tag in here and talk about whatever?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm biased, so just bear with me. But I love it. Like, I just feel like it's the right amount of. Oh, okay, the music if I just hear the music from that movie, it just brings that idea of solitude. And that to me is just like a lot of horror movies use solitude. That's scary. Of you just being stuck in a place where you can't reach for help, and in this case, you're with somebody who not only is in control because you can't really move, but holds the key to your freedom, and it's not right in the head. So it's not like super frightening like you would see on a Friday the 13th movie, that little like that's like freaky, but it's still really beautifully made, and it's so pretty and it's so eerie. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. It's eerie.
Eddie, you're our resident musician here. What did you think about the music?
Yeah, it totally did its job. You're looking at a period where stuff like happened a lot. Throughout the 70s, 80s, and you're still not quite in a period where Hans Zimmer kind of stuff started happening in every single movie now. So I mean, sometimes it lacks in production, and sometimes it's a little underplayed, and it could be a little more vibrant. Um, I don't recall any particularly interesting compositions. It's there. I think the silence is a lot more important. The silence adds to that solitude, and it adds to the suspense of oh my God, what's her name? Catherine?
Kathy.
Kathy Bates?
Kathy. No, yeah, well, Kathy Bates. But what's her character?
Oh,
Oh,
Annie?
Annie.
Annie. Is Annie gonna lose it? Is she gonna burst now? And you're waiting for her to say something, and it's like
Yeah.
nothing, and it's like, oh my God, what's gonna happen? It's like, and then when she explodes, yeah, the first time she explodes, yeah, there's no music, and then when she's happy, it's just, oh, it does its job. It's just I don't, I won't bring in particular attention to it.
So opening up to this just general discussion, some of your favorite scenes, least favorite scenes, different things you thought were funny or scary or anything else that stands out to you kind of guys. One note that I had written down that I thought was really just an odd bit of funniness in it was when she says, "What's that ceiling the Dago painted?" I'm like, Jesus God.
I didn't get that. What the hell is that? Who's Dago?
She's talking about the Sistine Chapel.
Yeah, but who the hell's
Yeah.
that? Yeah, who's Dago?
Yeah. I thought that was funny. I thought that, unfortunately though, and I don't know if I would say that I like it breaking up different parts of the movie or if it takes me out of it, but I sort of thought that the cop and his wife were a little bit too silly.
You really thought so? I thought they were so
That's
sweet.
that's such a Stephen King thing to do. It's like there's always like some
Yeah.
sort of like underlying
It's like a
little
relief to.
backstory.
Yeah.
like it works as some levity to kind of lighten up the tension a little bit, but at the same time, a lot of the times I feel like I'm really getting into the psychological torment of the whole thing, and then it's like, oh, let's laugh at this guy, and I'm like, wow,
Right.
crap, like maybe better editing or something like that would have made it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I feel that, the one thing I do have to say about them is that even like to me it broke some of that idea of like, oh, small town cops are silly, and like not silly because he's silly, but are not that experienced. He's never gonna catch on to something that is happening, and he's like the only authority figure in the movie that really feels like something's off, and he has that idea of actually going and reading the novels, kind of like he's a little like FBI agent, and I thought that was cool because it broke that idea of like, oh, he's just gonna be a dumbass that is just gonna be there for laughs or to calm like everybody's hearts a little bit every now and then. But I actually felt, spoiler alert, I felt bad when he died. I was like, no.
Yeah. I was kind of disappointed that he died because I was just like, well, that sucks. Like, I would have rather have him stumble upon it after Paul Sheldon saves the day for himself, and then he just kind of shows up and goes like, oh shit, all this happened. Like,
yeah.
I got disappointed when he got shot because now his wife's gonna be all alone and everything.
She's gonna
like
be
that's
all
depressing.
alone. Yeah. Aww.
That death
serves her right for being so manipulating.
I thought that death and actually Annie's death, I would have tweaked some things. I liked it better when she fell on top of the typewriter. I don't think that the pig statue was a great way to end it.
But didn't you think it was really cool that she died the way she really wanted to die, which was like in his arms?
Yeah, on top of him. That was good.
Yeah.
I like that. What are some other things you guys liked or didn't like or whatever about the movie?
Well, I am a sucker for torture scenes, and that one scene where she decides, you know what? Oh, you've been walking in my house. I'm sorry, I have to do this, and she breaks his feet. Oh, like that is like fantasy for me. It's just so nice. Like she just puts a brick there, and then she like knocks his feet inward. It's just it's awesome. Like that was my favorite scene.
What about you, Eddie? What do you think about the hobbling scene? Brutal, isn't it?
I guess. It didn't. I mean, it's hard to understand the point of view of someone who would actually do that. I mean, it's fun to talk about. Oh, I love that stuff, but until you actually do it, it's all speculation and it's all that. But like, for some reason, it felt too real in that movie. Like, I'm not saying it
Yeah.
looked real or anything, but because of the realism that Kathy Bates and even James Caan, I thought he was great in his role. Um, I think the synergy between both of them was something was working, and then she goes ahead and does that to him. So it's
Yeah.
not. It's bad enough that she's giving him these pills and doing whatever else. It's just she goes ahead and just breaks his ankle, and that's where you see the malice really, really at work. That's like the apogee of the worst that could happen.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just thought, I don't know, the best scene, honestly, when he's back in New York. So I swear to God, it's a relief. I mean, I'm all against, I hate like evil corporations and globalization and pesticides and war. But fuck it, man. Manhattan, let's go to a 5-star restaurant. Let's go to Dorsia, that kind of stuff.
You can get a
I
reservation.
don't. What?
If you can get a reservation.
Yeah. If you manage to get a reservation at Dorsia, yeah. Sure.
We definitely are doing American Psycho at some point at For Real Movie Club.
That is my
Definitely.
favorite.
Oh my God,
It's one of my favorite
please.
movies ever.
It's
one of my favorite movies
amazing.
ever.
Yeah. So stay tuned for that eventual episode. I guarantee we'll all be on that one.
I even
'cause-
wrote
Yeah.
a review on the book, right? Yeah, I wrote a review on the book and the movie,
Yeah.
comparing the movie. The
So-
book is funny too. Anyways, but yeah, to me, Misery, like honestly, him back in civilization is a relief, and I think it's pretty self-explanatory. I just didn't like claustrophobia.
Yeah.
Final thoughts and a rating 0 to 10. What would you say, Caroline?
I'll give it a 9.5, just because I feel like 10 is like too much, like too presumptuous on my part. But I really love it, and I feel that movie it's so simple in ways. Like Eddie said, it's just only 2 characters pretty much, and it's a lot on dialogue and all that tension building up between them. We don't have like crazy car chases and people hanging from buildings, but it still works. And it works because it just touches on those like primeval fears we have, being isolated, being out of control, and it's just really, really well done. And it has a pet pig, so and people breaking bones. It's awesome. I love it.
Eddie, what are your final thoughts and a 0 to 10 rating?
But you can't deny it is a good movie. I heard about it, every once in a while, the Kathy Bates role and all that. And I was like, okay, fine, let's watch this. Let's get it out of the way. And yeah, I wasn't disappointed. It's just not my kind of movie at all. Just not my kind of movie. I'll give it a 6 because it deserves some recognition, definitely. And I think Stephen King, anything that's taken from a Stephen King novel usually turns out pretty good. No matter how weird or strange or whatever. For some reason, his movies out of Stephen King novels there's a certain suspense to it. There's a certain sickness to it, a certain macabre kind of gist. I can't really put my finger on, but it's a good movie. In the end, I just want to say it's a good movie. I wouldn't recommend. I wouldn't easily recommend it though. The subject matter didn't appeal to me at all.
I'm going to have to probably go a 7 out of 10 for me. This is one of those movies that I had wanted to see for a long time, but I kind of agree with you that you have to be in the mood to watch it. I find usually I'm not a big fan of horror movies in general, and thrillers, when they're more on the crime side of things, I find them a lot easier to digest than the horror thrillers. So I very rarely am in the mood to eat. Yeah, to eat a movie like Misery. The VHS tape just doesn't settle well in my stomach. But very rarely do I feel like sitting down and watching a movie like this, and I don't think that I probably would end up suggesting it to most people, but anybody that I do know that does like this type of movie, guaranteed I'd be tossing the name out to them. And anytime somebody says that they want to watch a movie sort of like this, I'm sure I'm going to recommend it to them. Good watch, hard to watch, but a good one nonetheless, I would say. I think that'll round us out for Misery, so if you're watching this on YouTube, as I mentioned before, click on that next video for part 2, and if you are listening on iTunes and Stitcher, then all you gotta do is sit back and wait, and we will continue on with Silence of the Lambs. Welcome back, everybody, to part 2 of episode 10 of the For Real Movie Club. This month we are doing thriller movies, and we're going to continue along after Misery in the first part. Right now, part 2, we're going to talk about The Silence of the Lambs, directed by Jonathan Demme. This is the follow-up to the movie Manhunter, although not technically a follow-up because it's really not in the same continuity, but Manhunter is based off of the book Red Dragon, which was the first book written by Thomas Harris. This is the second book. Then the third book later on would become another movie, which actually would keep continuity. And then they'd go back in time and do Red Dragon, which it gets a little confusing. And then you throw in the Hannibal Rising, and you throw in the Hannibal TV show. And basically, let's put it down this way. Watch the Anthony Hopkins stuff, watch the TV show, skip Manhunter, don't see Hannibal Rising, apparently.
Fair enough.
Hannibal Rising is probably the worst movie in terms of franchises that don't really. When they try to stick something to, don't watch it. It sucks.
Yeah, it really does.
So, Caroline, I'm going to pass this over to you again. Give us a little breakdown of Silence of the Lambs.
All right. So Silence of the Lambs is about this FBI trainee, Clarice Sterling, and she actually has to get the help from this big serial killer who's been in a prison for the criminally insane, to catch another serial killer whose victims have been found not only dead but missing parts of their skin.
It's kind of creepy, isn't it?
So badass.
This is, there are, out of the 4 movies that we are doing for this month, I own 2 of them, love 2 of them. Silence of the Lambs is one of them. I don't remember how I first got into the movie. I'm pretty sure a buddy of mine suggested it when he was getting really into studying films and stuff. But Silence of the Lambs is a movie that I think is one of the only horror films that I could actually suggest to anybody as just, this is a good movie. It's odd in a way. It's not really scary to me, although some of these aren't necessarily. I mean, thriller movies aren't the same as horror movies, so obviously that's a difference, a huge difference between them. But something like Silence of the Lambs should be scarier to me than most horror-y kind of thriller movies too, just because of the fact that they deal with really dark themes of, cannibalism is something that's real. It's not some supernatural person hunting you down. It's a literal doctor who knows how to gut you and will, as the big important scene is, eat your liver with some fava beans and
some nice Chianti.
Yeah, Chianti. And I don't remember what his name is. The actor's escaping my
Anthony Hopkins?
No, not him. This other actor. The one who was Peterman on Seinfeld. I can't remember. He hosted
I forgot his name.
Yeah, he hosted an edition of Family Feud for a couple of years and stuff. But he said one time that what used to piss him off about Silence of the Lambs is how he says Chianti instead of Chianti.
Yeah, he walked out of the movie when he mispronounced that.
Right. Such an odd thing to take offense to, where it's like, that's
right.
the...
He was shitting his pants, and he decided to leave because of that. And then he pretended to be macho. Like, come on, really, grow a dick. No, just watch the movie.
So, Silence of the Lambs is one of those movies where they, like I said, they deal into a lot of dark, different themes. And what I think is really cool about it is it's not about Hannibal Lecter as much as it is about a couple of different characters. And Hannibal would totally just go, Hannibal's the cool guy, let's do a whole thing about him and stuff. And obviously the whole series revolves around Hannibal Lecter. And if you didn't have that, you wouldn't have a TV show called Hannibal. You would have a TV show called Clarice or something. But the criticism that
explains it all.
Yeah. That'd be a weird mashup, wouldn't it? She turns out to do that because she's already been used to people breaking into her room every night, so she's used to like the horrors of breaking and entering and stuff. Tries to amp it up a little bit more.
Yeah, and the intro to the show would be like these lambs like screaming. That's her dream.
It's funny that you mentioned intro though. I have a note that I didn't realize until rewatching it this time. The opening credits just seems like a television show nowadays to me.
Yeah.
Like something that you would see in Law and Order.
Or X-Files.
Yeah, X-Files. Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah, definitely X-Files. Yeah.
I saw a lot of Scully. I swear to God, I saw a lot of Scully and Clarice.
See, I wasn't big on X-Files, so I don't know too much about her character itself.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me!
No,
really?
yeah, it does bring a lot of Scully. That's true. Like but also like it's a lot to do with like hairstyles and the way they dress with the shoulder pads. But she definitely has some Scully in her as a character.
Does Gillian Anderson talk like she's got shit in her mouth, like Jodie Foster does?
That was just
Stop
Jodie Foster.
it! Leave her
Doing a
alone.
Oh, you know that's true though. She talks like that throughout the whole movie. She's like Dr. Lecter.
But like I don't know a West Virginia accent. I don't know how a West Virginia accent is supposed to sound like in God knows what town. So maybe she did pull off a perfect kind of southern but kind of hillbilly thing, but
maybe that's one of my other criticisms is I can't stand her voice in the movie. You know, the whole like lambs.
Oh my God.
We'll have some more things to make fun of the way people talk later when we start talking about Buffalo Bill and stuff. But first thoughts when you had watched this movie the first time, and if you rewatched this, of course, what are your thoughts rewatching it, Eddie?
This is one of those movies that, you know, time and again I mention there's a certain quality to good Hollywood production that sometimes happens by accident, or sometimes it's meant to be, or for whatever reason a movie stands out and remains that way for as long as there will be cinema. And Silence of the Lambs is one of those. I mean, I find it to be one of the greatest movies in the history of Hollywood, because not only are you dealing with a subject matter that's unusual for an appealing movie, and Tony, like you said, you know, you'd recommend this not as a horror movie, but as a good movie, regardless of genre. And you're dealing with psychology on such a base level it's hard not to. And I think it's psychology I would say for dummies. You know, like what is the movie really about? It's about the loss of identity, trying to find one's own identity. That's what Buffalo Bill is about. He's trying to find who he wants to redefine who he is. And you know, he's hoping that by impersonating a woman, wearing a woman's skin, will turn him into something more acceptable, at least in his point of view. So you're dealing with such a strange subject that at the same time, it's kind of like, I don't know. I think it's the psychological equivalent of what Cosmos is to sci-fi. Although it's not really fiction, or Star Trek is to sci-fi. I mean, it's appealing, it's easy to understand, and I think that's the whole thing. Because a lot of people talk about this movie, but they don't really realize just how intense it becomes in the profiling.
What about you, Caroline? First thoughts?
Just point out, this movie's from 1981.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's all about CSI and whatever else. But back then, there wasn't much going on in this area.
Now, and you could argue that this movie probably got a lot of those people interested in that to begin with,
Oh yeah, totally.
and probably got a lot of other people interested in the opposite side of things. What about
What?
you, Caroline? First thoughts when you had first
What do
seen
you
this?
what do you mean opposite?
That's why I'm introducing Caroline.
Oh, proceed.
Did this get you into the idea of cutting people up?
Well, it wasn't my first, dive into that pool, but definitely like reflourished some of my passions and hobbies. I love that movie. It's really cool. I've read the book, watched the movie I don't know how many goddamn times. I think that it's just we all have this morbid curiosity. Even you, Tony, who does not like horror movies, it's normal. We all think about death in every single level, and one of the levels is killing others. And it's awesome. We have the serial killer Hannibal Lecter, who the way in the book, the way that he's written in the book is as if he's the personification of evil. In the book, he actually even has 6 fingers on his left hand, and
Oh, really?
that is one of the symbols. I think it's like from early ages, like medieval times until like maybe I might be wrong, like 18th century. But if you had an extra finger in your left hand, you were considered to be evil. Like you
Oh,
had
in Tennessee, you're still evil
Really?
nowadays. Yeah, sure. Texas too, Montana, Utah.
Wow. Well, there you go then. That's that's still a thing. But and he actually Thomas Harris, who wrote the book, he makes a big point when he's describing him that he is a demon in a human body. Like his teeth is smaller than normal people. He has really penetrating eyes, which Anthony Hopkins did an awesome job of capturing that. And the fingers situation, just how his body is built, all of that is. I think his eyes are even like maroon towards red in the book. So he's like the way he's described is like, okay, this person is not just a person. There's something going on inside. And in the movie, we get that sense because one, the camera goes really close to him, like frighteningly close. When we see a Freddy, when we see a Jason in a horror movie, the camera normally stays away because they don't want the audience to connect to those characters. We want to stay away from them because they're bad and evil. But with Hannibal, the first scene we have with him, like the camera goes really close to his face, and he's just staring into the camera, and he can smell Clarice. He knows things about her in a way that even if he was a brilliant psychiatrist, there is no way of knowing. So we get him as being this evil, this know-it-all, see-it-all, evil creature, not even a man. And that's pretty amazing. I think that between him and Buffalo Bill, like Buffalo Bill is kind of like the intern serial killer, and he's like the CEO or president or something like that.
The serial killer club.
You never know.
Sounds like something that should be on the box of Lucky Charms or something.
Get your free little knife with blood inside.
Right.
That'll be awesome. Yeah, and I also feel like the movie's a lot about his relationship with Clarice. Like the books are certainly they explore that. In the book series, he actually ends up with Clarice.
Much better ending than in the movie.
Well, yes, but I don't think that most people will like that.
When I had heard that, the ending wasn't, and spoiler alert for people that aren't watching Hannibal yet, in the movie Hannibal, he chops his own hand off to escape the police and everything, and doesn't end up with Clarice. And I liked it better when she ended up with him, because it was like, well, at this point, like, Anthony Hopkins is a charming motherfucker for a person who's a complete madman.
No, I agree 100%. But I just feel like it's something Hollywood would never do because
Right.
in the book, for her to end up with him, he actually continuously drug her. So she forgets about everything in her past, and she kind of becomes like a zombie almost to him. And that's how they end up together. They move to, I believe, Argentina, and he dyes her hair like very blonde, so she becomes like his little doll. And if you went, like, I would totally watch a movie like that. I feel like that would be awesome. But I can't see like so many females being so upset, and I don't think Hollywood would go for something like this. It's not that commercial. But yeah, that would be awesome. And I mean, the whole entire movie, I kind of just want them to get it on and have him like eat her as he's like fucking her. That would be amazing. That would be like Caroline porn. But I knew it was not gonna happen. And then we have Buffalo Bill, who teaches little boys how to tuck, and I thought that was awesome. The first time I watched it, I didn't even know that was possible. I forced my little cousin to do it to see if it actually worked. That's horrible. But
Hey, Tony, remember that time when you said this might be used in court?
Yeah, this is more and more evidence. See, what Caroline doesn't know is I'm actually commissioned by the FBI to do this podcast to get evidence.
Oh, really? Hi, Clarice. Hi.
Oh, it's okay.
It's funny. I don't remember when I learned how to tuck. I think it was way before in the movie. But
Well,
yeah,
you know, but
before the movie.
you have a penis. I don't. All right. Nature already tucked me, so I can't explore that art. I'm sorry that
Dave's
I'm a
just kicking
girl.
himself for not being on this podcast.
No. Yeah, no. I saw the movie. I first saw the movie when I was 14, so I think I know how to tuck already for sure.
I think it's an instinct. People know.
I mean, it just happens, right? It's like you're like, hello. It's like, funny.
Oh, yeah, you know how to tuck.
Something on the positive side of things, not on the skill level of tucking, but when it comes to Academy Awards, I mean, we keep mentioning how this is just a legitimately good movie. I mean, this was nominated for a bunch of Oscars, which is very rare for a movie with this kind of tone. And it won every one that it was nominated for, except for two of them. It missed out on Best Sound Mixing and Film Editing, which, of course, very, very important things. But at the same time, when it comes to most people's views of the Academy Awards, they're like, who fucking cares?
Yeah.
Film editing,
I
sound
care.
mixing. But, you know, that can make or break a movie. And the next movie we talk about is going to be a huge one where we talk about editing. So we'll get back to
yeah,
that.
that's true.
But it did win. Anthony Hopkins won for Best Actor. Jodie Foster won for Best Actress. Ted Talley won for his adaptation of the screenplay. Jonathan Demme won Best Director. And, of course, they won Best Picture, which is, like, unheard of for a movie like this.
That's
And
true.
really hasn't been heard of ever since then either.
Yeah, unfortunately. But yeah, and also the American Film Institution ranks Clarice as being the 6th greatest film hero out of 50.
Number
and I think
6?
she
Wow,
yeah, and
that's going too far, I think.
No,
number
it's
one?
not. No, it's not.
Skywalker.
She's cool, guys. Stop it. And she's the highest ranked
nothing
female
against it.
on the list. You don't know the first ones. Like, I haven't done it. And Hannibal Lecter is the number 1 greatest film villain, which, I mean, I like
Darth
it.
Vader's the number 1.
Yeah, see, I'd
Okay,
put
you
Hannibal-
guys are just geeks, all right? He is number
This is Fanboys
1.
Anonymous. We're all geeks.
He is pure evil. He can look
No, he's
into your
not.
soul.
He's just a psychopath. It's pure and simple.
Okay, nobody's just a psychopath, okay? That is just, like, not cool. No. He is beyond that. He's like, oh, he's
There's no
awesome.
such thing as evil. Everything is based on psychology or pathology.
See, I think Hannibal
Okay,
deserves
but that's
to
real
be...
life. We're talking about a character in a movie and a book. Who is
In that
described
movie,
as
he's
pure
just a
evil?
psychopath.
He's not.
He's an
You're
old
talking
teddy
about
bear.
the book. I agree.
He's
in the
not
movie,
just a
just like that.
psychopath.
He's also a talented painter, and he's also...
Yes, he's also an inventor, a sculptor, a perfume.
a perfume enthusiast.
Yeah.
Like, I would say that, yes, maybe like Buffalo Bill is just a psychopath. I just feel like he is portrayed as much more than that in the movie. And that's why he's such a great character.
That's why I would argue that
Buffalo Bill's not necessarily a psychopath. I think his is more of a his is a psychological trauma.
See, I would argue that Hannibal
No.
Lecter's almost an anti-hero.
Yeah, in a way.
So that kind of disqualifies him a little bit from being number one.
Exactly.
Shut up.
No, it totally disqualifies him. Completely disqualifies him.
And Clarice, if you were going to do a list of specifically the best like female heroes, I could maybe put her up there. But heroes in anything, I mean, we've got far too many. I think that Clarice wouldn't even be in the top 50.
No. You gotta realize something. She was an FBI agent in training. She's a woman in 1991. That goes a long way.
Yeah, that's true.
And
yeah, instead of just going the Manhunter.
Her performance was great. I thought, despite the weird guy to West Virginia kind of accent, despite that, it was flawless. I mean, she did a great job, and she you could tell, dude, her performance in Shaking when it was dark, I actually believed it. I was like, oh my God, she seems genuinely terrified. And but at the same time, she didn't lose her femininity, and she tried to. I mean, she still acted tough when you could tell she struggled, but the struggle was far too real. Like, I thought it was great.
Good job defending that. That was good. You turned me around on that idea. You mentioned AFI though. AFI also picked one of the census takers who once tried to test me, the Five Beans line, as the number 21 best movie quote of all time. Definitely up there. That line's awesome. Nominated for it is, but it didn't make the list of the top 100, is one of the final lines of the movie, but I'm having an old friend for dinner.
All right.
When I first saw this movie, I love puns. It's like my favorite type of comedy, and I laughed hysterically at that line. It's so good. There are a lot of lines in this movie that I love. Those two aside, one that's fun as hell to do, impressions of and stuff, and a classic line that they've made fun of on South Park and they've made fun of in pretty much anything, is the whole, it puts the lotion on the skin or else it gets the hose again. And then,
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Cartman does something. With
yeah.
that.
The best part about it is the whole, put the fucking lotion in the mask.
Ew.
No, dude. Okay. This is sadistic for my part, but when she started screaming, when she sees the claw marks and the claw marks, the scratches, the bloody scratches, yeah. She's like, ah! And he's like,
Oh.
I was like, oh my God,
It's so funny.
actually. It's weird. I thought it was funny. Like, yeah.
Like, you're not
I
supposed
know
to
it's
laugh
just
at
a
stuff
movie,
at all,
of
but
course.
everybody laughs at it. So
No, but that guy, he pulled off a good. His portrayal was good, and you see how his composure changed when Clarice met him. He was like, "Oh yeah, sure, yeah, hi, yeah, sure, come on in."
oh, big
Like
old
he
fuck,
wasn't
boy.
that more, he put up his guard. He put up his social guard. But it's still kind of flawed. That's how you know the guy's. That's how you know he's not just your psychopath. It's a psychological issue. It's pathological. But Hannibal, on the other hand.
We're just gonna agree to disagree on that point.
No. If you look at this, is textbook, like, complete psychopath. A guy who functions perfectly normal within social parameters, but knows how to calculate and manipulate the situation so he'll never get caught. That's what he does.
So
Buffalo Bill's
I'll
kinda-
disagree on that, but that's fine.
that'll round out like the casting side of things. I think we mentioned music. What do you guys think about that from this movie?
I like the 80s pop kind of thing. I thought it painted it painted a profile picture. It shows that the guy, that Buffalo Bill guy, is still very much in touch with some sort of emotion. He wants to feel good, and the music while he performs his weird,
Yeah, Goodbye
self-gratifying, his weird self-gratifying stuff proves that I don't know, but the music has a giant role in setting the tone.
Definitely,
Uh,
that's got to be the
Yeah.
number one song when it comes to the
yeah.
movie.
Plus, I love the Jay parody in Clerks 2.
Oh God, yeah.
I was like, would you fuck me? I'd fuck me.
I'd fuck me hard.
Yeah, but I can't watch this movie and not think of Jay doing that. So that's really
Right.
funny.
Yeah, Clerks 2 kind of ruined that scene a little bit.
Yeah, fuck. Plus, the song is really cool. I never looked up the band. I gotta look up that song. It's a pretty cool song.
What do you think
It's
about
all
the music,
weird.
Caroline?
I like it. I mean, I definitely like that scene where he's dancing like super epic. I also like the tones that they set up where we have like the aerial shots when Clarice and Agent Crawford are going to one of the scenes where the body was found. Um, it's awesome. I didn't read on all the awards that it won, but I'm still like kind of shocked that it didn't win for editing because the editing was pretty cool too. But yeah, sorry, I'm getting sidetracked. Sorry, I was reading like trivia right here. But yes, music was awesome. I don't understand a lot about music, obviously, but I like it. It didn't take me out of the movie at any time. It just like made it just helped. Just I feel like what it should do for that one. So it was cool.
Yeah, just a little addendum to that. Is yeah, the music did its job. Aside from the soundtrack quality to the specific bands playing during the serial killer scenes, but also just to point out something, the sound editing would never win an Oscar because it wasn't the best. And for instance, the very first dialogue, you can already hear it's not very good because it sounds so studio. It sounds very like because I've worked in this in Foley and dialogue and ADR, so you can tell they're in a studio, not outside when they do the voiceovers. Where it's like, hey, Clarice Crawford wants to talk to you on the phone. And she says like thanks or something. The dude just kind of like,
She says, "Hold on, I'm
I
getting my
could
toothbrush
tell,
first."
I could tell, and I was like, oh man. But I mean, it's something I've even noticed that in Jurassic Park, for crying out loud. So I mean, it's just me coming from that kind of background. I noticed these kind of little mistakes, but
Yeah, I mean
it's
that's the
hard. It's
opposite
hard to do.
from.
It's really, really hard to do like perfect ADR throughout a whole movie. It's really hard, and movies that win for that award for that category, it's no.
No easy
Trust me, it's
feat.
no easy feat. Yeah.
So general discussion kind of stuff. Anybody want to throw some stuff out there? I'll throw one thing out first. I would say my least favorite part of the movie is the end fight, the whole sequence in the night vision. And it's not for me disliking it. It's just if there's any point in this movie where I put it on TV. It's middle of the day and they're running it and I have it on in the background. If I tend to shut it off, it tends to be at that point. My favorite parts are obviously the scenes with Hannibal, but
Mhm.
I don't know. There's something about that that's kind of just. It's not that it doesn't sit well with me for like the tension, because the tension's great. I mean, that's perfect. Like Eddie had mentioned it before. You can see genuine fear in her eyes, and you can feel the anxiety and all that stuff. But I don't know. It's just the least enjoyable scene, I guess I could say for me. But I definitely love the Hannibal stuff. That's why I could eat up watching the TV series, which is just full blown Hannibal being awesome. What about you guys? Any favorites and least favorites and stuff like that?
I mean, I'm with you. I love the scenes with Hannibal. I like his interaction with Clarice. I really like the scene where they all go to the autopsy on the body that they dig out of the river. They get it out of the river. And just one trivia on that scene, apparently, they use like for the cocoon that they found in the girl's mouth. They use this prop made out of Tootsie Rolls and gummy bears so that if somebody swallowed it, it wouldn't be a big deal. So that was pretty cool. My least favorite scene, I mean, I guess it's not even like because it's the least favorite scene. It's just because I hate Dr. Chilton so much. I just like, oh my god, he reminds me of some of my doctors. I just want to like kill him. And so like any scene that he's just being an asshole, I just want him to go suck a dick. But it's not because I don't like the scene. It's just because Dr. Chilton is just, he gets in my nerves. But he's an awesome character. He just gets in my nerves.
You like that scene where Hannibal's in the prison cell, but he's all strapped up, and Chilton's laying down in his bed and everything.
Yeah, and just being an asshole. Like, what an asshole. You just think you're so full of yourself. It's just, ugh. He's a despicable human being. But not because he's a good character. Like, in the book, too, like, I just wanted to kill him all the time, but it's okay.
See, I would argue he's more of a villain in the movie than Hannibal.
Well, yeah, because, I mean, I think, like,
you're happy when Hannibal breaks
Hannibal,
out.
Yeah, but Chilton, he's such a slimy, opportunistic asshole with crazy hair. You just want him to die. I hate him. Sorry, I just get really passionate. I just don't like him.
What about you, Eddie? Are there any favorites or least favorite scenes from the movie?
There are a few favorites. I think just one scene I didn't like. Let me get that out of the way. It's that, where Dr. Chilton or whatever is laying on the bed. But I'll tell you why. I don't care how many years you've been on the job and how slack you've become. You don't forget a pen in the jail cell of a man who can turn a fucking who's MacGyver. But you know the guy's like fucking MacGyver. You don't just do that. I thought that was really unrealistic, and they could have done something better.
So what about favorites?
I don't care how full of himself that Dr. Chilton was. I thought it was really unrealistic, and something better could have come along in his escape. Maybe one of the guards, when he was in that big, I guess, gallery, could have got some sort of slack. But even then, it was unrealistic. And okay, I guess there's two least favorite parts. Why would he set the food down so? It was really careless on the cops. I don't know. And then the editing was bizarre during the scene when he goes to bite the other guy's nose after he locks up one of the cops, because nowadays I'm pretty sure you'd have a stunt guy like totally kicking the door and then locking the other guy at the same time. You'd see a fluid sequence, but back then they had to edit it and make it so that it would kind of work, and I don't think it worked very well. Watch that scene again, you can see what I'm talking about when he subdues the guards. Apart from that, honestly, Tony, dude, that scene in the dark is like, that sounds really bad right now. Hang on. That scene with the night vision goggles is, I mean, to me, that just proves just how amazing Jodie Foster was in that role. And what's funny is that originally the director didn't want Jodie Foster, he wanted Julianne Moore, who he actually got in Hannibal. I might be wrong on that, so you're going to have to look up the trivia for me. And another good scene is when Clarice first meets Hannibal. And again, Jodie Foster, hats off. Everybody talks about Anthony Hopkins, and I agree, he did a great job, but I think the scene where Clarice first goes to talk to Hannibal is you can tell she's trying to keep her composure, but it's not possible. She's kind of breaking.
Yeah, quid pro quo, right? Can't have a great performance from Hopkins if you don't get a good one from Foster, too.
Yeah.
Good way to tie that into there. So, final thoughts and your rating 0 to 10, Caroline?
I would say, oh man, that's hard. Man, I feel like, okay, I'll give it a 9, just because I really love Hannibal, and I really enjoyed the books, and I got very depressed when the books ended, and I had no idea what to do with myself, so I'll give it a 9 for emotional reasons.
What about you, Eddie?
I'll give it an 8. It's definitely a Hollywood masterpiece. in terms of overall production, it is great, but not the best. But there's nothing bad to be said about anything at all in this movie, except for the little nitpicking that I did with some of the realism and all that. But otherwise, it's a great movie, very good movie, and deserve the Oscars. And I recommend it.
Very much agreed. I'm going with a 9 myself, and go watch it. And go check out the TV show, too, because the TV show is awesome. And it's going to be coming back soon. We're going to get Red Dragon this time around. They just announced Richard Armitage is going to be Francis Dollarhide. So that should be cool.
Hopefully, hoping for nude scenes.
Hopefully, if we do get nude scenes, it's the girl that played, what's her name in it? Alana Bloom. Give me that instead.
Fuck her.
That's kind of the point, isn't it?
Well, okay, you go fuck her. I just want Dollarhide's ass on my TV.
All right, guys. Next part's not going to have Dollarhide's ass, but it's going to be Memento. So click on part 3 if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're on iTunes and Stitcher, just sit tight and we will roll on. Welcome back, everybody. We are on part 3 of episode 10 of the For Real Movie Club podcast for January. We're talking thriller movies, and now we're on a neo-noir psychological thriller film directed by Christopher Nolan. You should know, but we're talking about by then. Memento. And we're going to start off with a rating of 0 to 10, and then we're going to backtrack. I'm just kidding. How much of a mindfuck would it be if I did that on this?
Yeah, we should start this review from Memento backwards.
Right. So final thoughts, and then we'll go to introductions of who everybody is, and then we'll backtrack again to the introductions, and because this movie,
and then move around some more.
Yeah, this movie messes with you. It came out in the year 2000, and man, immediately when I had seen this movie, which was very soon after it had come out, I knew that I wanted to check it out, just from hearing that this was a film that was just edited like crazy and everything. But we'll get into some of that talk a little bit later. Caroline, give us a breakdown of Memento.
All right. So Memento is a movie about a man that creates a strange system to help him remember things, and that includes lots of notes and even tattoos, so that he can find the murder of his wife, even though he suffers from short-term memory loss, it doesn't help him out for sure.
It inspired that song Amnesia by Chumbawamba. Do you suffer from short-term memory?
Wait,
it's long-term memory loss. That's what. No, I'm just joking.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
Actually, now I'll find some information that it's true or something. I don't know. It was probably around this time, 90s.
Yeah.
2000s. I don't know. Non-sequitur.
Yeah. Chumbawamba had that album out in '98, but I only know that one song.
Never mind. Yeah, that's too early then. But yes, Caroline's right. The movie does surround the idea of somebody who has short-term memory loss. He is tracking down John G. That's one of the only things that we know for a good portion of the movie.
Yeah.
Although you can't technically say that you know it from the first third of the movie or the first half of the movie or whatever, because this is, if you think Pulp Fiction is edited in a confusing way, and there's some people out there that do, and shame on you if you do. You can't follow Pulp Fiction? Come on.
Yeah, you have issues.
Yeah, if you can't follow Pulp Fiction, you are not going to be able to figure out Memento. And there's people that can't even pronounce the name of the movie correctly. I don't know how many people call it Memento all the time. Drives me nuts. But Memento,
the fresh maker.
Yeah. I wanted so badly to film a sketch called Mementos, and then they ended up doing it on SNL or something, and I was just like, shit, why didn't I buy a camera and get it up and running faster? But Memento is, if there's anything about this movie that we can talk about before we get even into casting and music and favorite scenes and whatever like that, I mean, let's talk about the elephant in the room, the editing. There are people that write papers about how this film is edited and how you have to draw charts and graphs and and it's like you can't even say that this is all backwards or that this is all we skip from A to C to B to D, because you don't. You sometimes go from scene F and then you go to the beginning of scene F right after it, and it's insane. It's tough to follow, and it pretty much guarantees you're watching this movie at least twice, if not 3 times, before you figure out exactly what's going on.
That's true.
Here's
the thing. I disagree. I think it's really, really linear because you have 2 lines to follow. You have the black and white, which has a beginning, and it's fluid, and it's what cuts the storytelling, cuts the parts. Whenever you see the colors and all, the storytelling becomes backwards, in a sense that you begin, let's say, with from point F to point G. When that scene ends, you have the black and white again, where he's talking on the phone and he's telling a story, and then all of a sudden you start in point E, which then ends at point F, and then it's the black and white again, which is that linear. He's talking on the phone, telling the story, mentioning Sam and a similar case of memory loss. Then you start at point D, which goes to which in the end is point E, and then that happens all the way back to point A. And it makes sense. It totally makes sense. I don't think it's that confusing. I mean, I had seen Pulp Fiction already, so this is much easier than Pulp Fiction.
Oh, you'd say it's easier?
Much easier, yeah, because there's only 2 lines to follow. In Pulp Fiction, it's A, F, X, M, B, and stuff.
Okay.
People listening on YouTube, leave a comment below. Tell us what you think is easier and which one's harder. I'm curious to see what other people think, too, about that. So let's jump into the casting side of things. We've got people that are relatively known, but they're not A-list stars. I mean, Guy Pearce is a guy who this movie sort of boosted him up a little bit. Carrie-Anne Moss, of course, she has been mostly known for The Matrix. And good old Joey Pants is just one of those guys. You see him and you're like, oh, I saw him in that other thing. And then everybody else essentially is an unknown at best. But what do you think about the casting? Should we have, the girl from CSI and the guy from Heroes, like, are they standouts, or are all these kind of things people that you could have just grabbed somebody else for it? What do you think, Caroline?
I don't know. I mean, I like the editing. I like Guy Pearce. He's just weird ass looking, and he has like that confused look on his face. Like normally, I feel like. So to me, it just made a lot of sense to have him in that movie. And Carrie-Anne Moss, she looks such a cold bitch. So whenever she's in the movie, like, I just love her because I know she's just gonna do that. She just looks super icy, and it just fits. I mean, mainly, I feel like with all the supporting characters in this movie, we're with Guy Pearce's character in the movie. He's the main character, so we're following him around. We don't know who to trust, and I feel like everybody else in the movie kind of looks. I mean, they don't look like they're thugs and they're gonna stab you in the back, but they just have a look about them that they're just like not trusting people. It's not like if you had I don't know, what's his face, the one that just did The Interview, Seth Rogen. Like, he could never play someone like that would possibly be sneaky and stab you, and you don't know how to treat it. It kind of looks like a teddy bear. And I just feel like the people that they casted for this movie, they just work like that, They look okay. They don't have any scars on their face. They don't have an eye patch. But they're all hiding something.
The pirate scene was cut out.
Damn pirate scene. But they look like they're hiding something, and that they might not be trustworthy. So to me, it definitely works.
Yeah, there's a different sketchiness from Joe Pantoliano and Tom Hanks.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, Tom Hanks, like puts Forrest Gump right there and trying to no, like.
Although it'd be kind of funny to see him do the whole Lenny thing.
Lenny, life's a box of chocolate.
Eddie, what do you think about the casting?
It was great. I can't find anything wrong with it. Uh, I think Guy Pearce did a great job. Yeah, he looked kind of lost, uh, supposedly, but I mean, he's a great actor. I like him in
Yeah.
a lot of different stuff. I don't know why. Like, I just for some reason I like a lot of European actors. I mean, there's something particularly. I don't know what it is. Their training is more based on the stage, theater, maybe Shakespearean or something. I'm not saying that Guy Pearce is that. I don't know much about him, but I thought he was great. And Carrie Ann Moss was great. I guess she was writing the whole, like, oh, Hollywood loves you kind of thing after The Matrix, and she starred in this good movie. Because I haven't heard from her since, so I
Yeah,
mean, I
she
don't know if
hasn't really
it's
done
just
anything.
yeah. And Joe was it Joe Pantoliano? Is that
Hmm.
it? Yeah, he was great in Bad Boys. He was in Bad Boys, right? He was the boss.
I think he was. I know he's
Yeah,
in
Wuza,
Daredevil, and
Wuza, Wuza, right? Is that it?
I haven't seen Bad Boys in
In
so.
Bad Boys 2, oh, dude, come on. In Bad Boys 2, it's all like Zen and stuff, and every time Will Smith is like, "Yo, boss, we just blew up a whole like warehouse, and the police can like have to pay for it." It's like, Wusa, Wusa. Anyways, I might be wrong. It could be a completely different actor. It could be a different movie. Anyway, could be Anger Management for all I know with Jack Nicholson and Adam Sandler. But anyways, um, yeah, the casting was great. I don't see anything wrong with it. I don't know if you replace anyone, it could have been different. It could have been a disaster for all I know.
Got to find somebody else who looks confused all the time.
Yeah, I don't know.
Music side of things, I love the music that they used in this. I bought the soundtrack as soon as I could. I listened to multiple songs from the score just regularly. It's a soothing score for the most
Yeah.
part, which actually I don't know if that would say like it hinders the thriller kind of element to it, but I mean this is a different type of animal when it comes to. I could do a good joke with a different type of animal with Silence of the Lambs and stuff, but something like Misery is going to have a darker edge to it than something like this because this is a more tragic movie. So
Yeah.
it needs to have that softer vibe to it, and I think that pulls that off so well. This is the other movie for those that are keeping count, though, that I own and love and have watched a bunch of different times. That and Silence of the Lambs. Um, but the music is fantastic, and I think that's like what easily one of my favorite things about the movie. Personally, at least, I don't know. But what do you guys think about the music?
I like
Yeah,
it. I
I
mean,
think. Go ahead. Go ahead.
no. Go ahead. You understand more about this than I do, so go ahead.
Well, okay. Well, see, like I mentioned in Misery and Silence of the Lambs, it's well more Misery. It's kind of like it was back then. It was still lacking in this quality department. A lot of things were still somewhat fillers, and Hollywood was kind of bland, and then computers came by. And things became a lot almost easier and faster to produce, and new ideas started coming out. Technology started catching up in that aspect. And this, Memento is one of those movies where it first starts to show. Requiem for a Dream, for instance. I think it's Hans Zimmer. Uh, because it was Christopher Nolan, I thought maybe Hans Zimmer did this, but no, it's David Julian, who I never heard of. Yeah, there were parts in the movie where I was like, wow, I was expecting something totally cliche, but no, it's actually something really cool. Like nothing I'd buy a soundtrack to, but It's definitely great.
What about you, Caroline?
I enjoyed it. Again, like it didn't like take me out of the movie. Like since like I don't really I mean, I'm not really knowledgeable when it comes to music and sounds in general, even because my hearing's pretty bad. I it didn't take me out, so to me, like that's a plus. Like I hate when all of a sudden I'm no longer there with the characters in the story, and I'm like more concerned about what is that noise that I'm hearing? Like what music is playing? Oh, let me Shazam now. Like, yeah, that's cool when you watch a movie after maybe the second time and you're just paying attention to different details. But to me, music is important. It definitely is there to up the ante or to set up the mood. And with Memento, like I'm one of those people that when I first watched it, I mean, I only figured out what was going on really towards the end, and I was like, oh, holy shit. But throughout the movie, I was just like so entranced of, oh my god, like what's going on? Like, what are these tattoos about? Like, oh, and I love this scene where he's like, I am chasing someone. Oh no, I'm being chased. And to me, like that, like that not only is one of my favorite scenes, but to me, like that was my experience with Memento, the first time I watched it, and the music, just like you said, like it's really soothing. So it's not something that I was expecting, I guess, in a movie like that because I was like so on edge. But it made sense to me because after all, it's not something. It's still a dark movie. I still feel like there's like a big, deep darkness to it. But it's very tragic at the same time, especially when you find out everything that really happened and you're like, oh my God. And then you realize that he's not going to believe and he's just going to start all over again. It's like hell. Like he's stuck in hell. And it worked. It worked, especially once I figured out what was going on.
So let's start just picking some random things out there that we thought was funny or interesting or whatever. You mentioned how Carrie Ann Moss just looks like a stone cold bitch, and one of my favorite scenes is when she, reveals to the audience that she's just completely taking advantage of Leonard. And
yeah.
Damn, she is a bitch in that scene.
I know. Oh my God. She's just like, oh, she's so icy. And it's funny because she kind of resembles my mom a little bit, but I just feel like she's so icy and just, like at first I was like, oh, maybe like she's someone I can trust and somebody that will help Lenny, but damn, girl, like you didn't have to do it like that. That was horrible.
And it's a different level of, you couldn't really say evil, but like a different level of being an antagonist than with the Teddy character, because he's clearly not a great guy if he's doing this, but you still kind of feel like you are upset that he gets killed, like, or at least I do. I don't know.
No, I did too. And like with him, like he was doing something that somebody with like a straight mind probably wouldn't do, but I feel like deep down his intentions made sense to him, and it was like there was some sort of like a weird loyalty on his part. And with her, no, she was just like straight up cold, and which it worked. I mean, I don't dislike her character. I was just like, oh, like I felt so betrayed by her.
Let's see, some other things that I had written down about, I always like the line, I don't feel drunk.
Yeah. There's so many cool lines in that movie. Like, I love I'm chasing someone. No, I'm being chased. Like, that to me is like, oh, thank you. That's how I feel all the time in this movie.
Something that I didn't realize the multiple times I've seen it beforehand, but I did pick up on it this time around. He never does laundry, does he? So he's just like smelling horrible in this drug dealer's suit for multiple days, and that's
maybe it's affected like his sense of smell too, and he just doesn't really remember the smell.
Maybe. So what other ones do you guys want to throw out there to talk about?
Let me pull my notes. My computer went to sleep. Whoa.
Anything that stands out to you, Eddie?
the scene that most stands out to me, actually, well, since the movie is backwards, is actually the credits. Because when it ends, you're like, oh, okay, crap. So Teddy really was just a nice guy, so to speak.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Relatively nice
oh
guy.
man, yeah. Well, like he's by his side, right? And that's when you really get the confirmation, like, okay, the movie ended, so now you know for sure that the last thing you heard was that Teddy was actually giving that whole, the opening up, saying, "Dude, like I looked after you, you killed the bastard, and whatever. I thought it would make you feel good about it, but no, you didn't." And then it ends. You're like, oh, okay, so that definitely was a confirmation that Teddy's a good guy, and Carrie Ann Moss is the bitch, stone cold bitch.
Yeah. I love the whole scene where he's telling the story that's actually his story, but about Sammy. Was it Sammy? Am I confusing this? Yeah.
Sammy Jenkins.
Yeah, Sammy Jenkins. Like, I like the whole sequence. It just, like, it kind of broke my heart, and I just felt like I was just so all over the place with the movie that I didn't really connect the dots that could actually be him. And then and then we realized what's going on, and oh man, that was so, like, that destroyed me a little bit. Like, that made me upset. But it's still, like, one of my favorite sequence. Also love the whole, like, tattooing of his notes. That was pretty cool and kind of hot. Like, oh, it's cool. And I just also like the mood of the whole film, because most of it's very, like, the colors are pretty, like, it wasn't a movie that it was lit and colored something like Seven, for instance, which is another great thriller, where it's very noir looking. It's very, yes, I mean, Memento, we have the black and white, obviously, but when we have the colored scenes, things are kind of sunny looking in a way. They're not like Seven, for instance, which it looks like it's overcast and raining the whole entire time. And that was good, because I feel like if it was kind of like Seven, it would have shifts the mood in a way that the movie didn't need it. So I like that bit a little bit too. And I was just reading how Brad Pitt almost played that role. I don't know. He doesn't look that confused to me. And what I also realized when I was rewatching this is that scene when we see like the comic store, like how we see, like, there's like a bookstore, like a comic book store. There's like the Batman symbol there, and there's also like the Superman. I was like, oh, maybe like Christopher Nolan took a look in his future and knew that he was going to be involved with like the Batman trilogy and Man of Steel and whatnot. I thought that was kind of cute, but it just might be me being crazy.
That's kind of funny though. We were talking before we started recording this of just the idea of whether this is Christopher Nolan's best film or not. I am a huge Batman fan. I mean, Batman's easily my favorite superhero character ever and all that. I love Batman Begins. I actually am one of those rare people that thinks that Batman Begins is maybe even a better film than Dark Knight is. And then Dark Knight Rises just kind of falls apart a little bit. But Christopher Nolan is definitely one of my favorite directors. Insomnia, meh.
Yeah.
Interstellar was disappointing, and
oh no, hang on, I forgot about Interstellar. That movie was amazing.
See, that's a whole discussion for another day.
Yeah.
And I would argue that The Prestige is underwhelming compared to what a lot of people think. I had never saw his first film, but Memento was the first thing that I ever seen of Christopher Nolan's, and when they announced that he was going to be directing, Batman Intimidation Game is what they were calling it at the time. And I was like, that's a stupid title, but I'm totally on board with Christopher Nolan. This is based off of, again, every one of the 4 movies that we're doing this month is based off of a previously established work. This is Jonathan Nolan's short story. Jonathan Nolan's his brother.
Yeah.
Jonathan Nolan has really been proven himself as a killer person to watch out for to me, because he helped work on the Batman trilogy. He is responsible for definitely one of my favorite TV shows on TV right now, Person of Interest, which is just Batman with cops. But this team of Christopher Nolan and Jonathan Nolan, they're killing it in this movie. And I think that's a great representation. If anybody watches this movie and they like it, I think that they got to check out his other work. But tying into that and getting your opinions about what the best Nolan film is and where this kind of places in there, but also before I pass it off to you guys, there's a theory that goes around now, and I don't think it's got much validity to it, but I wanted to get your opinions about this too. A lot of people are saying what they think is going on here is that Christopher Nolan made a series of films about making films, and that Memento is the first one of them, which is about the film editing process. The Prestige is one about filmmaking in general, where you present the audience with something and you try to trick them with a twist at the end and different stuff like that. Like, you're pulling the magic trick over their eyes. And Inception is one about getting into the psyche of your audience, and it essentially breaks down to Memento's film editing, Prestige is direction, and Inception is writing.
I think that's totally right.
Tying that in together and just talking about Nolan in general, what do you guys feel about this? How does Memento stand up and all that? Caroline, go with you first.
Why are you killing me first? I'm still trying to digest everything you just said, and I'm trying to make sense of it. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Eddie.
All right. No, I think that's totally right. I saw his first movie, and I don't know if it's anything to do with it, but maybe it's the first movie is about how to make a movie in black and white. It's not a bad movie. It's pretty cool as far as the simplicity of it. I think that's exactly right. But if you ask Christopher Nolan about it, he'd be like, "Sure, I guess." I think he did it subconsciously. He knew what he was doing, but he didn't do it deliberately to work on the editing. Maybe he just thought Memento would be interesting if we did this editing and all that. And then maybe the Prestige just kind of worked out that way, and so forth. It's just, I think it happened by accident, but yeah, I think he's a master director.
He definitely ties in with themes with everything that he does. I mean, clearly Batman Begins is about fear, and Memento is about memory, and so I could see that being a subconscious thing too. I don't put much validity in the actual theory that he's plotting this out and being I'm gonna get them with this one, and
you can form out a theory about anything in his movies and still find evidence if you really dig into it,
Right.
If you want that to be a real deal, you're going to find, if you I don't know, if you maybe have the theory that he's obsessed with the number 3, you're gonna find evidence that he's obsessed with the number 3 in every single movie. I guarantee you. I don't have an obsession with the number 3. I'm just throwing something out there. But
is that because this is part 3?
I just throw out a number, but see, you found evidence. See?
Yeah. There you go.
But I really don't know. I just feel sometimes people just read too much into things, and they just have to calm their asses down and enjoy a good movie, and that's that. I don't know.
Well, let's break this down. Final thoughts and rating 0 to 10, and in general, what do you think is the most thrilling aspect of this movie too? We'll throw that out there as another discussion point. Eddie?
When you first when you see the second slice of the story being told, you're not sure what's going on because it's not front to back, it's back to front. And then when you get to the end of that scene, it's like, oh, okay, now I get it, sort of. You're still not sure. Then you go to the third one, and then you finally get to the end. It's like, oh yeah, so that's what that other one started. That's when you finally figure it out. So I think like you might. It's the kind of movie you definitely want to watch it again, at least twice, to really grasp it. And I think that frustration of not really knowing what's going on in the very beginning might actually, for some people, might actually play it as a negative aspect because usually you want to digest you really want to enjoy a movie to its fullest. And I don't think it's possible with the first time you watch Memento. It's kind of like, oh man, I am lost here. And then when you finally get it, it's like, oh, okay, go back. I got it. Go back, please. I want to see it again. It's like, oh. So it's interesting. It's kind of like a little mind game.
What would you get it out of a 10 rating?
Yeah, I'd give it an 8 because I think in terms of cinematography, it's extremely interesting. It deserves recognition, and the other aspects of the movie are great. Production's great, the acting's great, the music is great, the Foley was great, ADR, all that.
Yeah, shame on you, Academy, for not giving this best film editing. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah, I
like,
can still understand because it's still very linear.
What about
it might be genius from our point of view, but from a technicality point of view, maybe that year, was it nominated or not?
Yeah, it was nominated. I think Lord of the Rings won.
Ugh.
Yeah, there you go. Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta understand it's a lot of mafia also.
What about you, Caroline? Final thoughts, 0 to 10. Thoughts on the most thrilling aspect of the movie too?
Well, most thrilling aspect for me was definitely not really knowing what the hell was going on, but at the same time, not one moment of the movie I felt disconnected from Lenny, and I feel like that was pretty awesome that they could create this whole excuse me this whole story with this character doesn't really remember what he just did, and he's trying to go into this like really intense journey of finding his wife's killer, but he doesn't remember. He has to like keep reminding himself, and I feel like it was pretty badass that they were able to do that without being boring and without you losing contact with him. And I don't have a short-term memory problem, I don't think, but I totally empathize with him throughout the whole movie. Like, I wanted him to be okay. I didn't want anything bad to happen to him. I didn't want to trust the people that he was around because he didn't want to trust the people he was around. He didn't know if he could trust them. I didn't know if I could trust them. And I feel like every time that happens in a movie, for me, that just makes everything worth it. Because it's hard to do. It's hard for somebody to actually connect with another human being like that without like being in the same place and without like touching that human being. And I think that's awesome. I love the editing. I love the acting. Carrie Ann Moss, ice cold bitch. I still love her. Yeah, like I love that movie. It was really, really great. I feel like I'll give it a 9.5. I mean, I really don't. I don't think I can find anything bad in it. I mean, like, for me, like, the only bad thing is that, like, there's no really horrible torture scene, but it didn't bother me in that movie. Like, I was with it, and I watched it many times now, and I'm not gonna get tired of, watching it again and again. It's a good movie.
All right, so first things first, let's get into the casting. I had to do another joke about editing that.
I was so confused, like, wait.
I was trying to figure out what I would end up referencing later on. I was actually going to play with your head a little bit and ask you to do a 0 to 10 again, and I thought that'd be a little bit neat. I'm going to go with an 8 out of 10. Slightly lower than Silence of the Lambs as far as quality, but I think that this is another movie that I actually recommend this movie to almost anybody for anything, for the most part. Especially if they say that they like movies like The Usual Suspects or Fight Club or something, then I'll immediately go to check out Memento because it's so awesome, and check it out for a second time too. But that'll round us out for Memento. We have one more movie to do on this list of our January thrillers, and that is Oldboy from 2003 in part 4. So stay tuned, everybody, wherever you're watching it. You should know by now. I've mentioned it multiple times, and if not, then pull a Memento, go back and listen to it again. Welcome back to the final part of episode 10 of the Fanboys Anonymous For Real Movie Club podcast for January. We're talking thrillers, and we've gone through horror thriller, we've gone through crime psychological thrillers, we've gotten the neo-noir messed up editing thrillers, and now we are on mystery thriller. I guess they technically classify it as Oldboy, the 2003 version from South Korea. Now we need to specify that because there is a 2013 remake of this with Josh Brolin, and it's made by Spike Lee, and apparently is god awful, so I'm not going to be checking that movie out. But as you are the one who picked these films out, Caroline, hit us with a little bit of Oldboy.
Okay, cool. So, Oldboy is a story about this guy who is pretty much like a drunk, not such a great dad, possibly not a great human being, but out of nowhere one night he's kidnapped and he ends up being in prison for 15 years in this really weird prison/hotel room. With no explanation whatsoever. All of a sudden, he's released, and he's given some money, a cell phone, and that's that. So he has no idea what's going on, and he decides to go look for his daughter and his wife's killer. But things are definitely way more complicated than he would imagine, and he will soon figure out what really happened and why he was kept prisoner for all those years. So that's it. Oh, and it's also the second installment of the Vengeance trilogy. First one is Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, and the third one is Sympathy for Lady Vengeance, which was really cool too.
Are they all connected? Or is it just kind of like this director did Vengeance movies? And
yeah, it's I mean, it's connected on the Vengeance motif, but
not like storyline.
No, you can definitely, they're standalones really. You can definitely watch them out of order or not watch, the other two to get what Oldboy is about and so on. And this one is also a South Korean movie, so yay, Koreans are awesome.
Well,
South Koreans are awesome.
Yeah, we need to specify that. So I am going to purposely not mention many character names in this because I guarantee
I was kind of like, should I say it? I am probably going to butcher those names. Odesu?
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 Good old Johnny boy. I could get Mito right.
Yeah.
Mito. I'll mention Mito quite a bit, but when we start getting into Lee Woo-jin and
that guy.
Yeah. Park is one guy, I think. Or is that...
He's the director.
Oh, the director. Yeah, okay. So, forewarned about that when it comes to that kind of thing. But, Eddie, what were your first thoughts of watching Oldboy?
I was just kind of bored one day and I rented this movie. Just for the heck of it. I was like, whatever, I'll watch an Asian movie, see what the big deal is. I think this is the first Korean movie I've ever seen. It's about 4 years ago, and then it caught me by surprise. I wasn't expecting something this of this quality, of this magnitude. I mean, usually when I see foreign movies, be them European or Asian, it's usually very, slow, very not very action based and all that. But this one has like shootouts and all that, and a lot of different environments, different places, and there's flashbacks and gets very psychological too. So it totally caught me by surprise, and though it's really dark and stuff, and sometimes even fantastic when you think of the magnitude of the revenge being taken. Uh, Sometimes you got to remember that in Asian culture, people really will go out of their way to pull off one specific action. It's crazy.
And honor, of course, is a huge factor,
Oh,
which
dogmatic to the last.
does not translate as much to the American audience.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, I grew up with a lot of Japanese stuff, so I understand why. I understand the possibility of this, right? And I don't think I'm not sure the average person in the West would totally buy into it.
What about you, Caroline? First thoughts when you first watched Old Boy?
Well, I had heard a lot about the movie from my Asian friends, and they were like all 50-50. Like some people, they either loved it or they hated it. So I was like, okay, why would you hate it? It's like, oh, it's too disturbing. Like, done. I need to watch this movie. So I actually went and actually bought it even before watching it, and I was not disappointed. I'm a big fan of horror, like Asian horror movies, and Koreans tend to be one of my favorites. This one's not a horror movie. It's disturbing though. So once I watched it and figured it out what was going on, I could definitely understand why some of my more conservative friends did not appreciate it. It's pretty cool. Like, I loved it. There were times where I felt like I was kind of watching something kind of like Kill Bill, but on like ecstasy, like on high speed, like something like crazy.
I can see that.
And I am all about it. Like, I love that they went full on it. Like, they actually took incest and made it like freaking cool in a way that I don't mind watching it. It was so cool. Like, I really loved that when we first see the main character, we don't really like. I didn't really like him. It was like kind of like, ugh, this is gonna be our main character. Like, he can barely stand up right now. Is he gonna be drunk throughout the whole movie? And just like being with him in that little room and seeing him go through all the stage, it was like he went kind of from the stage. He went through the stages of grief. Like, first he was really angry, had no idea what was going on, and then he kind of became this little like puppy dog, just very depressed, and like all of it. It was magical to me. Like, I really loved it. And just the whole thing with the like how he was like, I'm gonna be ruining this movie for a lot of people, hypnotized, and the whole phone thing, and meeting the girl in this sushi bar, the infamous octopus scene. That was actually a real one. And I feel like he actually ate like 4 live ones. Because they couldn't get it in a first take. And that's really interesting because the actor is Buddhist, so he actually had to pray after each scene, a single take, because he ate those little guys. But that was so visceral. Like, this guy's just been in prison for 15 years, and he didn't even know what he did to get that. And the first thing he wants to do is to eat something alive, to feel that heart pulsating, the blood in his mouth, and that was so cool. And obviously, like, the taking out the teeth, and him finding out what the hell happened at the end, and him like choosing something that was very interesting in the end. Like, he had to make the choice of remembering or not remembering, and the whole entire time I had no idea what he was gonna choose, because I knew that this guy was broken from the very first scene in the movie. So I knew that his actions were not going to be of somebody who is stable. And I will go on and on about this movie, guys. Sorry. I just really loved it. I'm all about it.
So I'm kind of assuming that we're not going to have too much to talk about when it comes to casting. But does anybody have any notes that they want to throw out there of anybody that could have been playing these characters better or anything? If we do know any South Korean actors.
We know some of the characters that were in the remake, so maybe we could
who would have been better instead of Emily Olsen and stuff?
Yeah. I mean, I was like, I'm not gonna watch this remake because this is ridiculous. But for what I get it, somebody watched it and told me that it's actually a scene by scene remake, and I don't get it. Like, why would you get just because you have to read subtitles, America? Really? Like, can't you just like enjoy a Korean movie and read subtitles and enjoy it? I don't know. Like, I like what's his face? Josh Brolin, but Brolin. Yeah, Brolin. But when I saw that he was the main guy for the remake, I didn't get it. I think he's like too well put together all the time. And I feel like in the Korean version, that guy is messed up from like the moment we lay eyes on him. He's a mess.
See, I can't think of anybody who I would, at least off the top of my head, who I would cast as a main character. The only thing I could think of for somebody who could play any of the other characters, I mean, I wouldn't have gone with, Samuel L. Jackson as the prison warden or whatever. I would think when it comes to the daughter, my gut reaction would be Emma Watson. And it seems like a weird choice, but I
think she would carry it.
She's a better actress than she gets credit for, I think.
Yeah.
And there's something about Mito that she's adorable. Like,
her submissive ass. She's so cute.
Yeah, it's not the submissive act kind of thing. That's not it. Like, I know a lot of people probably that's like a huge thing for them. That doesn't really do it for me. Just her in general. Like, she is gorgeous.
Yeah, she really is. She really is. She looks like a doll, which I feel like maybe that's why they really like. Okay, it's hard because I feel like most Korean actresses, they all look like dolls. They have like flawless skin, flawless hair, beautiful eyes, like beautiful everything. But yeah, you're right. Like, she's really cute.
Mm-hmm. And she's got like a childish kind of quality, but in a way that's not creepy. So like, I knew very early on in this movie, I was like, well, this is definitely going to be the daughter. Like,
yeah,
they're not mentioning anything with the daughter specifically, and he's going to end up fucking his daughter. Like, it's going to happen. But at the same time, I was like, hey, good for you, guy. Like, it's a horrible thing to say, but I was kind of like, hey, yeah, Mito practically says, I might say no, but just give it to me, and it's like, you fucking give it to her, Daisu. Like, what about you, Eddie? Anybody that you think could play these characters from the American side of things?
No, I have no desire to. I don't like American versions of this or that. I haven't seen the original Vanilla Sky, but I mean, I like the American version, but I suppose if I saw the original, I might not have liked it. It's like the most ridiculous. What was it? The girl with the dragon tattoo. Like, why the hell would you make a remake of that? I don't get it.
So that's a movie I haven't seen either version of them, but
no, well, watch the original. You don't have to watch.
Yeah, I've heard that the American one sucks.
You don't have to watch the American version. The originals are great. The trilogy is great. The original trilogy is great.
So the casting side of things, that brings us into music. I'm going to say I think the music here is 50-50. The very first scene throws me off. But there are scenes where I dug the music. Maybe it's a cultural thing, I don't know, but that was a little odd for me sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Of course, I don't have a clue what the Spike Lee version is, and I highly doubt that I like that version better. But
my God, why?
Is anything like the music in what's it called? What's that one Spike Lee movie? The one that I hate, everybody loves. Do the Right Thing.
Do the Right Thing.
I hate that movie with a passion.
Why?
Wait, is it the one? Is it the one with the pizza place and then
Yes.
breaks in it?
Pizza and Heat, New York Heat.
I think it's so overrated. That made me hate Spike Lee, and I haven't even watched like anything else that he's done.
No, it was alright. It was alright.
The only good thing about that movie is Giancarlo Esposito. Everything else is terrible. But the music for Oldboy, what do you think about that, Eddie?
Yeah, I think like you mentioned, there's a cultural difference. There's definitely a cultural difference. It's realized that it's not. I mean, you're working with a culture that praises the West a lot more than you might imagine. But at the same time, there's a lot of tradition in it, you know. So like sometimes they kind of lose focus as to should you just maintain it, keep it simple? Should you keep no music here? Should you put music there? It's a completely different approach. Should you put something modern? Should you put something more traditional, more instrumental? I felt like it was a little bit. There's nothing wrong with it because I get it. I get that background. So I'm trying to see more of your point of view. Because to me, I'll just say it does its job.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what I mean. Like, it's not horribly offensive in any way or whatever. It's just sometimes it's a little bit odd, like weird choices or something.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on that too, Caroline? Same kind of thing, or?
Yeah, no, I mean, I get it both sides. The music didn't really throw me off when I first watched it, just because, like, I feel it's kind of similar in some other horror movies I've seen. Like, some of them go from really creepy tunes to, like, K-pop. So
Gangnam Style in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, yeah, all that glorious stuff. And I feel like with Oldboy, there's also this sense of, like, this highly stylized universe where there is such thing as this jail that you just pay and then you can put somebody for so many years. So it is like a different universe, and maybe like they try to use the music to explore that as well. I mean, I watched some Korean, like I said, like it goes from like really creepy to and I mean
by the way, my favorite impression that has happened on this episode so far, easily that one.
You're welcome.
Screw the Silence of the Lambs impressions. Go listen to this one.
Oh man, all Koreans don't hate me. I love you all.
So general discussion kind of things. Why did they have to kill the dog?
Yeah, I know. Like, I was upset about that. I was upset about the octopi. I mean, octopus in the movie, octopi in the production.
Yeah, that's probably my least favorite scene is that octopus scene.
Yeah, no, that, like, I get it. But to me, it was, like, it upset me. Like, I didn't want to believe it was a real octopus. And then my friend's like, no, that's actually, like, we do that in Korea. We just, like, slice it first. I'm like, oh, what? That doesn't make it, like, less horrible.
Yeah, that's...
But
we just add extra insult to injury by stabbing it before we eat it. Like...
Slicing it, like really nicely before eating it. But, yeah, I mean... I don't know if the dog to me made a lot of sense, but I'm biased about dog deaths in movies. Like, that shit just breaks me. Like, I can watch humans dying all the time. Like, do not show me, like, one of those SPA commercials. Like, you're gonna put me in a hell. Like, I can't deal. But, like, the octopus scene, like, that to me was, like very visceral. Like, it didn't... I guess it disturbed me a little bit, which is hard because like I don't feel like a lot of stuff disturbs me anymore. But that was like, oh my god, he's actually eating. He cannot. No, he just pretend. No, he's actually eating it.
Wow.
But I don't dislike that scene. It was just hard for me to watch when I first watched the movie.
You know, speaking of animals in this, if the octopus scene's not my least favorite scene, I would say it's probably the ant scene with the train. It's a random fake ant. That really. I watched this movie actually last night from when we were recording this podcast, and I was tired when I started watching the movie. I actually thought that I might be better off watching it earlier today, but I ended up, waking myself up and being able to watch it. And when I got to the ant scene, I was like, wait, I gotta pause this for a minute because I don't know if I fell asleep and something happened.
You're like
yeah, like if I find out that I missed 10 minutes of this movie and it explains this ant thing, I'm gonna be pissed if I finish this and I don't go back. And I rewatched it from the entire beginning, starting at that scene, and then I was just like, nope, I didn't miss anything. There's a fucking ant. Okay. So that threw me off. That was odd.
But him like fucking his daughter, that was like fine.
Oh no, just Mito's adorable. So yeah. By that point, I was rooting for the guy. And now the FBI investigation turns to me.
Yeah, I was just gonna, and I'm the weird one, and I'm the creepy one, and FBI is on my ass. Well, get ready, sir. Get ready.
Two other notes that I had written down, then I'll pass this over to you guys to throw some things out there. Number one out of those two, I really wanted fried dumplings after watching this.
Right?
They looked so good. And
Really?
he doesn't want to eat them anymore, and I'm just like, well, let's give them to me.
Yeah, exactly. Like they really looked really, really good, and I was like, well, and then I was trying to think like, wow, if I had to eat fried dumplings for the rest of my life, would I be okay with it? Probably. Yeah, no, that's like the only problem that I have with like movies like this, or even Italian movies. Like they always have really good looking food, and I wish I could eat it. I'm rewatching the ant scene right now, and I'm just like trying to imagine your face while watching this.
For what scene? The ant scene. Yeah.
The ant scene.
Well, picture a guy who hasn't shaved in like 3-4 days, hair's all messed up, half it like eyes all tired, and then just being like, huh?
Can I imagine it?
Like I'm thrown out of it already because I had downloaded. Yeah, I'm gonna just say it. I downloaded it. I didn't buy it. A version of this where somebody had a backup track of an English dub, and I listened to about 30 seconds of it and knew that I couldn't do it. So, because the acting was so terrible. Oh man, I gotta take a piss though. Like,
oh, that's magical.
Yeah, it sounds like the main character is voiced by Keanu Reeves or something.
No.
Which probably could be awesome now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
I would love to watch that movie. There you go. Keanu Reeves could have played the main character in this. Somebody make that one. But so that threw me off, and then I'm reading the subtitles, and then it was just an ant, and like I'm like, what the fuck am I watching here? I'm more confused about this than I am Memento.
One scene. It only took one scene.
The other note that I had written down, which is actually my favorite scene of the whole film, the horizontal fight.
Yes.
That was awesome. That was so stylishly done, and just killer. I love that. I gotta submit that to some other people to check out that are like movie buffs and stuff, and just be like, if you're not gonna watch this whole movie, okay, but at least watch this scene.
Yeah, watch this scene.
It's a highlight for sure for me.
Yeah, like I feel like that whole sequence, like even preceding that fight, was pretty cool.
The torture with the
yeah.
teeth out stuff.
Yeah, but it's just so gritty, and it's just like I could almost smell like how gross everybody probably smelled on that scene.
Especially that fat guy.
Oh yeah, of course.
So Eddie, what about you? Any scenes that stood out to you?
Yeah, for once I'm gonna take the spot for this kind of stuff. The part where he cuts off his own tongue
Oof.
was particularly paramount. I don't know why. It was like the triumph of his failure and the dude's Queen Jung Tong, Qui Guan, whatever his name is, of his triumph and his revenge. You know, that's where it's revealed like, oh, it makes sense now. It's his daughter. It's like, and the guy's like, no, please don't tell her. Don't tell her. I'll do anything. Like, cuts off his own tongue. I'm like, dude, I don't know if I'd cut off my own tongue out of desperation just to prove a point to someone. So please, God, don't. But
Yeah. I
it made
probably at that
sense, and
point
I
would have been
bought it.
like, I'll just tell her that you lied.
I bought it.
She's gonna believe me more than you.
Well, I'm sure he's got like backup, like blood samples.
Yeah, that's true. He went through all this
Trust me,
effort. He
these
probably
guys are.
does.
That guy's a mastermind. I don't know. Yeah, I think that particular scene for some reason was kind of. It was the one that made me feel something. Like, oh shit, you know, like, made me feel sorry for everyone, but also made me feel like, well, fuck all you people.
What about you, Caroline? Any standout scenes?
Well, I feel like trying to think. Like it's hard for me to like single out one scene. I and it's a weird feeling. Like I don't like the octopus scene, but is that one scene that made me feel disturbed, and that says a lot. Okay, like you know me, like I let some not so great shit everywhere, but that scene to me was pretty cool, and I explained before why. Like this guy was. It was to me. It felt like he went from being buried alive to like trying to feel alive again, and the only way he could feel alive was that if he ate something, that it was still alive. So I like that scene. I kind of also like the whole flashback with the villain and his sister.
Of course you picked that scene.
So pervy, but I thought it was cool because it was the whole entire time they're not going there. No, oh yeah, that's a boob. Oh, they're going there. Oh yeah. So I don't condone incest, but I liked it in that movie. The fight scene was awesome. In a weird way, even him fucking his own daughter was awesome. Oh, I'm so glad my parents are not going to listen to this.
Yes, take the heat off of me.
No, here I'll carry a little bit of weight. Here's the thing. There's something about forbiddenness that makes something hot. Like you will never in your life do it. The hint of it is kind of hot. You know what I mean?
I just like weird shit. I just think it's
There you go.
awesome.
I'm not. You're probably not gonna do weird shit, but to fantasize, to toy with it, you know, mentally in a way, is kind of hot. Just it's basic human psychology. Like whatever's forbidden is hot. It's something you want.
I wonder if the remake was really like a scene by scene. If they actually went that far, or you know, or if they kind of like try to mask it, because this type of like weird shit you see in some Asian movies, but it's still like a big taboo here in America. Like we get like snippets of like some indie movies like doing some like disturbing stuff, but it's more like it's more like visually like full on disgusting than the actual like morality of it. So like that was like the only thing that kind of wanted me to watch the remake, but not like too much to actually watch the remake. But
I could see the American version being a lot tamer.
yeah, right?
You know, like there's an element of like torture almost to that sex scene. Like
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
she's talking about how it's painful and all that. I don't think that any of that would end up being in the American one. The American one's probably all like sensual music, and Emily
like
Olsen's
romantic.
probably. Was that?
What?
What did you say? I didn't hear you.
More like romantic
Yeah.
than actually feeling like, oh my god, this is so wrong. Like, oh, this is not good. It's more like, oh, these two beautiful souls are making love.
Yeah, that's probably what it is. And then it's probably over the top as hell. It cuts to Sam Jackson being Sam Jackson. What the hell are we watching and shit, like, you know. But that's I kind of want to check out the movie now just to see the comparison, but from everything that I've been reading online, everything just says that it's awful, and that that it's just as much of a departure from this as this was from the original manga that it was based off of, which I don't know anything about that from either. But
apparently, yeah, me neither. I actually didn't even know it was a manga till yesterday when I started reading about it. It's Japanese too. So I'm sure that also brings
that
other
makes sense.
changes to the Korean film.
So let's round this out here. Final thoughts, 0 to 10 score. Eddie, you're up first.
Well, considering this isn't your Hollywood produced kind of thing, it's a foreign film. I'd give it an 8 because I think it's really well produced. And it's got elements of action. It's got elements of, you know, I dare say in the beginning it's almost romantic comedy, especially when she gives him the medicine.
Yeah, the suppository.
Yeah, it's kind of comical. So I mean, it's a little bit of everything. It's a complete movie, if you will. So yeah, the end. No, props to the directors. I wish I could look up the proper names and all.
Caroline, what's your score?
I'll give it a 9, just because it did disturb me a little bit. It was really fun to watch. Just a cool ass movie that, like, I felt like even though I kept hearing crazy things about it, and I had this like build up idea of what it would be, when I watched it, I didn't feel like I was cheated. I still enjoyed myself, and that was great. Not the most disturbing Korean movie I've seen, but pretty cool nonetheless. Pretty cool.
So I'm gonna go with a 7 out of 10. On par with Misery for me. All of these movies, solid movies. Good picks, Caroline.
Yay! Thank you.
Much better than some of the ones we had for the Christmas one. If you guys listen back to that one.
Oh God, that like was so torture for me to listen to because I just hate Christmas movies.
So we're gonna totally get you on board with one of the romantic comedy ones that we do in the future.
It's just gonna be me complaining the whole entire time. I don't think you want to do that.
Leave us a comment below if you want Caroline to be forced to do those movies.
No.
As punishment for her FBI investigation.
Oh, that's one of my hells. That's just not fun. That's like hell number 5. Okay, so it's like pretty up there. So let's not do that. That's not nice.
That'll round us out, though, for these 4 different thriller movies. 4 thrillers from different sides of things instead of just going with the same type of movie. So there's something for everybody here, I think, for the most part. And if there isn't something for you, then we got another 4-Reel Movie Club coming up next month where we're going to be doing the Oscar picks, or at least a couple of them, because we can't do 10. So we'll see what's going on with that. But before we wrap this podcast up, we got one more thing that we got to do, and that is the plug side of things. Promote anything that's going on in your worlds right now. Caroline, we're going to start with you for this one. What do you want to have people out there check out?
Cool. Well, I want people to keep checking out our website, Finboys Anonymous, and all the cool articles are up there. I'm trying to find something disturbing to write about. I haven't been that good lately about it, so I just need to find something really gross to write about. But it's coming out soon. And check out my website, czofeffects.com. And FBI, if you're listening, don't check out my history on search engines. And that's all.
Eddie?
Yeah, I'm trying to get like a band or two working, and I'm looking for a job. The end.
I'm going to pat myself on the back for something that I thought that I was going to be unable to go the whole time doing, but I'll mention it now. I did go all of the old boy section without making a joke that young boy is better.
That, you know what? That deserves something.
Yeah, that easy pun. It could have made 10 minutes worth of this podcast, but if you like listening to stupid ass puns like that, then you got to listen to some more podcasts that are coming from all the other side of A Mango Tree. We've got on the wrestling side of things, Smark Out Moment, Smack Talk, the Mega Powers Radio, Monday Night Raw Post Show. We've got all the other podcasts from Fanboys Anonymous, which there's a list on the website. Go ahead and check them out. And in general, if you want to follow anything else under A Mango Tree, you can follow the Facebook and Twitter accounts for Tony Mango and A Mango Tree, spelled out Toe Ni Mango. Obviously, a little pun there. And A Mango Tree. Pun on my name. I can't help myself, guys. I'm sick. But stay tuned to the next podcast that we have coming your way. I'm not 100% sure what that is, but you will see it on fanboysanonymous.com, on the Twitter, the Facebook, and YouTube, and iTunes, and Stitcher. All over the place we are. And stay tuned to the next For Real Movie Club, which is going to be coming in, I think, the 20-something or other on February. We're most likely going to be doing that edition live, and we're also going to be running down a full review of the Oscars the podcast. They will do podcasts for the Oscars. In the future, they will, I'm sure. But the full ceremony for the Academy Awards, we're going to do a review point of that. And another group meeting as well, most likely. So if you have any suggestions for any podcast you'd like to see in the future, leave a comment below or leave a comment on fanboysanonymous.com. Thank you to Eddie, and thank you to Caroline for doing this. For all the other fanboys and fangirls that couldn't be here this evening, I'm Tony Mango. This has been another edition of the For Real Movie Club. Keep watching movies, everybody, and keep listening.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
I'm too old for this.
Good day, sir!
You stay classy, San Diego.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
I'm finished.
That'll do, Pete. That'll do.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Hey, everybody! We're all gonna get laid!
You're still here? It's over. Go home.